it's over 30 years ago now, um, I died, but came back during a severe asthma crisis. I didn't know at the time that I wasn't actually an asthmatic, a silent asthmatic, which is the most dangerous kind. Um, and I wrote about it all in a book called Flying Beyond the Stars, which is available on Amazon in digital and print form. Um, well, oh, well, the cover of the book, it was a dark mist appeared, pulling me into the greatest journey of my life, which is a true account of dying but coming back by Kady Karinas, which is a pseudonym because at the time I didn't want to use my own name because I was going through a difficult time with an ex who was harassing me and etc. So I because my father came from the Spanish River, came over with a Spanish Armada. I think it was in 1548, I'm not sure now. So I used my pseudonym of Kady Karinas. But my name is really Sands. My surname is Sands. But yes, I was travelling past stars within a protective vortex, which brought me into an overwhelming, amazing culmination of a journeying after I died. I died. Oh, well, before I died, I was waiting. I was waiting for my ex-partner to wake up so we could start our day. You know, the dawn was just breaking. I was listening to the dawn chorus of the birds singing outside our window, and I longed to get up and make a cup of coffee. And but I didn't want to disturb my ex who was lying at the side of me. So I just lay there thinking about the holiday we just returned from in the Mediterranean sailing holiday. And I was eager to get home to my little 4.5-year-old boy and my 2 teenage children. Yes, I was thinking about the presents I had for them, and I was very excited to get back home to them. But we had to finish the last part of our journey. And as I lay there thinking about all these things, lots of thoughts going through my head, when all of a sudden it felt as my chest went really hard, as if an elephant had stamped down on my chest, or a concrete block had dropped onto it. I just couldn't breathe. My chest went very heavy and hard. And the next moment, I literally catapulted out of my body. I found myself standing to the left of it, looking down at myself, and I couldn't fathom it out. I couldn't fathom out, well, how can I be there on the bed and here looking at it? And I was looking at my body for a long time before the penny dropped, and I realised it was just a dead shell of me. But I was still alive. I was still me. And I felt exactly the same. And it was such a shock. It was astonishing. And then I thought, and it was a great novelty looking at this dead shell of myself, this dead body of myself. It was fascinating. And I was looking at myself, this body of mine, this dead shell of me on the bed for ages. And then the novelty wore off. The fascination wore off. And then I thought, oh, what's going to happen to me? I can't just be here forever just looking at that, looking at this dead shell of myself. And then I looked over at my partner, who was lying at the side of me. I couldn't see him. I knew he was there. I could see his outline, but there was a dark sort of cloud covering him. And I thought, oh, that's strange. I really adored him. But I couldn't see him. Just this darkness over him. And then something in the corner of the room caught my eye. And I thought, oh, what's going on there? And as I looked towards it, it sucked me in. And I went into a dark tunnel. But this dark tunnel wasn't frightening. It wasn't scary. It was actually nice. It was comforting. And in this comforting darkness, I could see a light, a small light, way off in the distance. A pure light. Slightly yellow, but then very, very white. And it was a light. It wasn't just a colour. It was a light. And I thought, oh. And as I was staring at it, all of a sudden, I was pulled into like a vortex, a sort of vortex. And this vortex was getting lighter and lighter because I was travelling through it at great speed through this vortex. And it was getting lighter and lighter, this vortex. And then all these lovely different colours inside the vortex were enveloping me. And it was beautiful. It was exciting, very exciting. And I thought, oh, I like this. I've got no pain. Everything is lovely. So exciting, this experience. And I was travelling through it faster than the speed of light, so quickly. And I was travelling towards that little light off in the distance, which seemed thousands of miles away. But as I was travelling, it was getting slightly bigger and bigger and bigger. And I knew that is where I was headed. I was heading towards it. I wasn't afraid. It was lovely, exciting, beautiful, thrilling, and safe. I felt completely safe. But the trajectory wasn't my doing. I was heading towards that light. But it was nothing to do with me, I wasn't propelling myself. I was being propelled. And I travelled, must be for thousands of miles. So happy. And then I heard this booming voice. This beautiful booming voice. It was male. And at first I thought it was my grandfather. Then I thought, oh, it might be one of his sons, one of my uncles, one in particular, because their voices were very similar. And the voice said, your body is indeed dead, but you are safe. And I thought, well, I know my body's dead. I know I'm safe. I'm all right, thank you. I'm all right, thank you. And I kept travelling. And then I don't know if it was the being of the voice or a separate being, again male, joined alongside of me. And I couldn't look to see this being or person or whatever, because I was travelling too fast, like lightning, through this vortex. And then after it travelling with me for a while, I realised it was escorting me. It was my escort through the vortex. And again, it felt comforting, and it made me feel completely safe. Well, I felt completely safe anyway. But I realized I was being escorted through this vortex towards this light off in the distance. And now the colours, all those beautiful colours, had changed into a gold colour. And I was travelling and travelling, thoroughly enjoying myself. It was wonderful. So happy, free of pain. And then I realised, gosh, I'd left the earth behind. I had left the earth behind me, and I wasn't worried. I thought it was a wonderful release. I didn't care one jot about the earth. I didn't care that I had left it. Not at all. Carried on travelling, and then I suddenly remembered my 2 young adult children. And as I remembered my eldest child, as I thought of her, I was thinking of her, wham! While I was travelling, I also became part of my daughter's unconscious consciousness. I could read her emotions and her thoughts in her mind, and what was well, it was absolutely overwhelming, because I knew my daughter loved me, but until that moment, I did not know exactly how much she loved me. She loves me so much. The love I felt coming from my daughter's unconscious consciousness was powerfully overwhelming me. The love just, I can't explain the love. It was utterly overwhelming. And I realized then that where I was, she would one day be when her time came. And so I spoke telepathically into her unconscious consciousness how much I loved her back, and that I'd left the earth and I'd left my dead body, and one day we would meet again. She would be with me wherever it was I was going. And I said goodbye to her until we meet again, and just carried on through the vortex. And then I remembered her brother, my son, my firstborn son, and exactly the same thing happened. And the love I felt coming from him, again, it was utterly beautiful and overwhelming me. So powerful, his love for me. And again, I told him the same thing into his unconscious consciousness, that one day, although I'd left the earth, that one day he would be joining me, and we'd meet again fully in the form I was in, which I now realize was a spirit form. It is who we are inside ourselves, inside our physical, biological bodies when we're on the earth. But once that has to release us, because everything biological eventually disintegrates. It can't go on forever. It's not possible. But whatever it is inside us doesn't die. It just goes on. It just goes on into new dimensions, new experiences. So I knew that we'd be together again in the form I was in, that we all go back to source. And so I hadn't left my vortex, because it was all happening simultaneously, being part of his unconscious consciousness and my daughter's while I was still travelling through this beautiful vortex towards that light off in the distance. I travelled and travelled and travelled, and then that golden light changed to a white, beautiful light enveloping me. And I was flying past stars, planets. There were planets I was flying past. And also beautiful. Everything seemed beautiful. And then I actually, literally reached the end of my vortex. And I reached the end of it, and it was so beautiful. So beautiful. And what loomed up in front of me was this utterly gorgeous planet. And I knew that was where I was headed. And I knew that all the animals I had that had died in my life, their biological bodies had died in my life, and all the birds, and all my loved ones, all those I had lost over my life, they were all eagerly awaiting me. So eagerly, I could feel them. I could feel all their love for me. I could feel their excitement that I was to join them. And then, oh yes, and then I could also feel my little sister who had died as a baby. I could feel her behind me. I could feel her. Her name was Barbara, and I could feel that she was with me. Did not see her, could just feel her. And I could feel her love for me, even though I was only 6 years old when her little biological body had died from a hole in the heart. And I could feel her, and it was so comforting and beautiful and wonderful. And then I remembered my little 4.5-year-old boy I had left behind. And he was ill at the time because he suffered asthma, but not a silent asthma, a normal asthma. And he was unwell at the time because he had a bowel problem as well, and which he was in and out of hospital for, which I had to manage, and his father and his stepmother was managing at that time while I had been on holiday on the continent, on the Mediterranean, sailing. And but I remembered him, and as I remembered him, I telepathically said with my voice, "Who's going to look after my little boy now?" And then I heard my late grandfather's voice, beautiful voice, booming voice, and he had died when I was 13 years old, and I had loved him as a child. Everybody loved him. He had many grandchildren who adored him. He was a wonderful man, and he was well respected and loved up and down the valleys where we lived. And he said to me, oh no, before he said that to me, I was about turned. I didn't turn myself around. I could see right down through the vortex, down through the black tunnel. I could see through that, and then I saw my little 4.5-year-old boy, and he was breaking his heart. He was sobbing to be with me. He didn't know what was happening to me. Nobody knew. But he was sobbing because he wanted me home, back from my holiday. He wanted to be with his mum. He was waiting for me to come home with his presents and he was breaking his heart. And that did something to me. The shock of seeing him in such distress put me into distress as well. I could feel all his sorrow, all his agony waiting for me to come home to him. And then I was turned around again, and I could see through, I don't know what it was, but I could see the earth then. I saw the beautiful earth, but I was still in grief over watching my little boy sobbing for me. And then I heard my grandfather's beautiful voice, and he did have a beautiful voice, because he cut a record singing in the 1920s, early 1920s. He had a lovely voice. And he said to me in his booming, gorgeous voice that I had forgotten, you see, because he had died when I was only 13 and I was now 46. But I recognized his voice immediately. And he said to me, excuse me, excuse me, this need not be your time. You decided. It was about turned again, and I was speeding back down through the vortex. Coming back through it, speeding back through it. It wasn't beautiful. It wasn't nice. It was a light grey colour. It was horrible, and it was cold. But I sped through it very quickly. Then I got to the black tunnel, and I went through that very quickly as well, thankfully, because that wasn't comforting. It wasn't nice. It was scary and frightening, and I panicked. But I was through it very quickly, and then into my body at great speed. And then my body took a breath and then breathed beautifully before rigor mortis could set in. And I felt my late grandfather was with me all that time. I was coming back. And yes, my body took a breath and was breathing beautifully. I was back in my body before rigor mortis could set in. And I felt wonderful. I felt absolutely wonderful. All my pain had gone. Everything had gone. And I was overjoyed because now I knew and I know that our bodies die, yes, but we do not die. We ourselves inside this biological shell does not die. So I wrote about this experience and all the things that came afterwards, because this experience changed me as a person, changed my life completely, and that of my children, because my bravery meant that I went on to do other things. And so eventually my two sons, by now, of course, my little 4.5-year-old had grown up, and they bought me a laptop and they taught me how to use it. So I wrote down my experience because I'd like people to know that they need not be afraid of death. Do not be afraid of dying. I was very afraid of dying before this happened to me. Even though I'd been brought up very religiously, I still had a great fear of dying. But when it actually happened, it happened so quickly. I just catapulted out of my body. And all my pain and everything, fears, everything worries, everything had all gone. It was so wonderful. So I wrote about it all in a book, my book called Flying Beyond the Stars, which is available on Amazon. I actually wrote another couple of books, Dying Before Dawn, and I also wrote another one, Dear John, but never a Dear John. Because, you see, since that experience, my dying, returning experience, there must be something left open in my mind to my brain, because whenever my loved ones die, be they friend or family, they actually visit me, and I see them or feel them or hear their voice. And so many experiences of that. Nothing frightening, all beautiful, all wonderful, because those that I have lost have all been good people. Those that have been bad to me do not come near me. And also, I speak about, I had another mild attack after this dying returning experience. I had another mild asthma attack, and I was out on my own and nobody around. And I took refuge in this sort of tavern sort of place. I think in a beer drinking place. Yes, and that was the only place I could go to seek refuge. I managed to get through the door, and I was helped to a seat, and I met my late husband, whom I married shortly afterwards. Wonderful man. But before I met him, I had actually seen a sort of hologram or vision 3 weeks previously in my bedroom of the exact scene of where I actually met him. I'd seen it all before I met him. It was as if I'd been given a husband from heaven, and we were together 3 years, and it was the most wonderful 3 years of my life. And he was so wonderful. But he developed asbestos problem with his chest, and so he's on the other side now. But then 2019, I'd come in from the kitchen, having made myself a cup of tea, put the cup of tea down at the side of me. I was just about to sit down in my armchair when someone appeared in front of me whom I hadn't seen since 1964. He appeared in front of me in my bedroom as I was about to sit in my armchair to watch the 6 o'clock news on television, because I had a television in my bedroom, which I still have. And he appeared in front of me, and I was astonished, absolutely astonished. He was exactly as he was, when he was young. And I mean, he his body died at the age of 80 in 2019 on the 5th of April 2019. And I got out the words, "Oh, John," and as I got out those 2 words, he came right through my body. He merged with my physical body, And it wasn't frightening. It wasn't scary. It was wonderful. His ghost merged with me, and it was so wonderful. And I could feel every centimetre of his spirit body. That's what you call it, or soul body, or whatever one wants to call it. I don't know. But I could feel every centimetre of him, and it was more wonderful that than any physical relationship one has with one's loved one on this earth. It was more wonderful than that. I can't explain it. But it was over too quickly. By the time my bum hit the seat of my armchair, it was over, finished. He'd come right through me. And it was so wonderful. So we had tragically been torn apart in 1964 by malicious lies and jealousy of a relative who had also fallen in love with him. And of course, he wasn't in love with her, but so she used malicious lies and jealousy to by malicious letters, anonymous letters, which my mother believed implicitly. So she tricked us, and we were separated. So for all those decades, he hadn't forgotten us. He hadn't forgotten the love we had. And I hadn't forgotten him either. All my strong love for him, it had never died. And obviously his hadn't. So I've been walking on air about that since too. That wonderful experience has not left me. And my dying, returning experience has never left me. Both feel as if they happened just this morning. And the love I had from my late husband has never left me. So I feel greatly honoured, and I just wish everybody could have a dying returning experience, and maybe they would be nicer people. The other thing that I cannot do since my dying returning experience, I cannot do that anymore. I cannot be cruel to animals. Animals have emotions and feelings just as we do, and they feel pain, and they feel any cruelty we do to them, and they also feel any love or kindness we give them. And I cannot eat them anymore. I can't eat animals anymore, and I cannot be cruel to them. Before I died, I had my dying returning experience. I didn't think that much of animals. I just saw them as possessions, things. Not anymore. When you feel the love of the little spirit or souls of one's pets that one had in this life, cannot be cruel to them. So that's changed me as well. And there is nothing greater than the love of a dog or a horse or a cat or even a bird. There is no greater love. When we show love to them, we get it back manyfold or manifold, whatever one wants to say it. So, for anyone who would be interested in my book, can find it in digital print form, and possibly have I got links. I have had interviews on YouTube. Yes. So, well, the book is called Flying Beyond the Stars, Kady Karinas, which I'll put up on the screen, and another book which is with Amazon and other retailers called Dear John, but never a Dear John. And also on Amazon, Dying at Dawn. But I'd have to give more details of that. And I am 81 years old now and quite ill, but I'm certainly not afraid of dying. I do not want to leave my lovely family and my friends. I have the best of families, my children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren, all very kind, wonderful people. And I don't want to leave them physically. I know I'll never leave them. Never ever leave them. You see, because the love we develop here, it is not just love. Love is very powerful. It is a magnetic force that unites us completely. We might have little quarrels, we might have disagreements, but that love is a very powerful magnetic force that will always keep us united after this physical body is done. And that is a powerful thing I learned. Very powerful. And the fact that when we develop these love relations, with our family, friends, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, siblings, we are all part of our own soul group. We have then become part of a soul group, an individual soul group. There are many individual soul groups once we leave this biological body. Soul groups that have got larger through the love relationships that we have here in human form. We just add it to the soul group that we are originally part of before we come here into this biological life. And these are the things I learned early one morning as the dawn was rising and as I was listening to the dawn chorus, eagerly waiting to get home to my little house and my little family here in the UK. And it completely changed my life and changed my belief. The great universal consciousness is not religious. It does not care what religion you are, or if you are not religious. It does not care. All it cares is that it cares about the quality of who we are, the quality of our inner being, our inner soul, which gets proven by this biological living. It really tests us and proves us, and we grow and learn through the experiences. There is no such thing as burning in hell. That came out of misquoting early biblical scripture and the imaginations of the philosopher Dante. No such thing as burning in hell, fire, although there is a life review where one feels all the pain, all the agony that one has inflicted on another person and another animal in this life. Nobody escapes that. Nobody can escape that. That will be felt within our own self, our own soul, our own spirit after biological death. So, do not think that there is no justice, because there is justice. There is the justice to come within the soul of those who are cruel, those who are controlling, those who are dictators, those who bend the truth, gaslighters, malicious liars, anyone who does cruelty to an animal, that justice will come because they feel all the pain they have caused to others once they leave this biological life. The message is, and which runs through most religions. This message does run through most religions. Do no harm. Treat others as one would want to be treated. Treat animals without cruelty. Treat them with kindness, and the same applies to treating people around us and treating nations, treating employees, treating employers. And politicians do not seem to understand this. So my book is available in print form and digital form, and because I have kept the book short, it's not expensive. It's, I know expenses are can be different things to different people, but it is a low budget one, although it's a highly sophisticated book I've put together. Most of the artwork I've done myself, and the other bits of artwork I took off Pixabay, free to use images, but most of the artwork is my own. And there are lots of experiences in it, which I find astonishing. And I'm very privileged to have had, since my dying, returning experience. So that's all for now. And I hope to talk about my other two books at another time. Bye for now, listeners. I hope you've enjoyed this little bit of biography of mine. Bye for now.